As we get older, gaining muscle is hard, gaining fat is easy. I had anxiety and depression my whole life, and it was my drug of choice. If you have suffered from anxiety and depression at any time in your life, expect that to be magnified in menopause. If we are not eating the right way, moving the right way, getting enough stress reduction, getting enough time in bed asleep, then we're gonna wind up on medications for the rest of our life.
Are you tired of fitness advice that seems to be designed for people half your age? I am. Okay, I shouldn't say I am. Feel like your best years are behind you? Think again, because transforming your health and melting away that stubborn belly fat isn't just a dream for the under 50s. Hi, I'm Jill Collins, and in today's special episode, we're smashing the myths about aging and fitness. With the guidance of Jill Brown, a top women's health and fitness expert, we're diving into a few easy expert-backed tips specifically designed for those of us over 50, from revitalizing your work routine to maximize your nutrition for maximum fat loss. So let's get into this. Welcome back, everyone. We're here once again at Jill Collins Connections. I am super jazzed to have my next guest with you today. Jill Brown is a multi-certified expert in fitness, health, and nutrition. She's here with us today to share about so many different things that we all wonder about and talk about, including why it's harder to lose weight in midlife and menopause, and why does it happen, and what can we do to improve our health during these years, and how do we really, truly reverse weight gain and flatten our bellies? Let's all be honest. This is part of it, right? We want to learn how to do that. So Jill's going to dive in today with us, and we're going to learn some great things about this. So Jill, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you today.
Hello, other Jill. I'm Jill B or Jill C. It's been meant to be. Yeah. So you want me to just dive in and talk about
Yeah, we can talk about, I'd love to hear about how you got into this. What is it that you see different? Like, why is it a different approach that we need in midlife that just wasn't working when we were in our 20s and 30s? And it's like, all of a sudden everybody's going like, what the heck's happening here?
That's what I always used to say. Whenever we were in rooms together, we met on Clubhouse, the audio website, the audio social media. And I would always say, when you get frustrated in your 40s and 50s, it's because what you were doing in your 20s and 30s that you always resort back to don't work anymore. And our bodies are changing. And then women always say to me, oh, my hormones are changing. But do they know what hormones are actually changing? They always want to blame it on just the estrogen, but it's not just the estrogen that's changing. Our testosterone is changing. Our insulin levels might be changing. Our sleep hormones, so melatonin and cortisol might be changing. So it's not just the ones that you think about, because when we were young and when we were teenagers, we gain weight, we lose weight because of just the estrogen fluctuation. So we think that that's what's happening in our 40s, 50s, and 60s, which is my specialty area of helping people reverse midlife weight gain and menopause weight gain and the midlife spread. And it's a whole host of hormones. We have a couple of hundred hormones in our body. So it's not just the ones that we think about. Basically what happens is when we're in our peak ages of 20s to early 30s, whatever we do, our muscle mass is at its highest and our metabolisms are at its highest because our muscle mass is at its highest. And if we're not on an active strength training routine, and women our age mostly do cardio, if we're not actively building muscle, like literally trying to make our muscles bigger, and not just strength. So strength and muscle size and muscle strength are mutually exclusive. You can have muscle strength and not muscle size, and vice versa. So if we're not actively on some kind of strength and muscle building routine from the time that we're in our mid-30s, I would say, or at least by the time you're 40, we're going to be in a heap of trouble come our 40s, when our estrogen levels start to drop and our testosterone levels drop. And this happens to men too. Men have estrogen and testosterone. Women have estrogen and testosterone. And when those start to drop, we start to just naturally lose muscle mass. And there's this scary term called sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is age-related muscle loss that just happens naturally unless you are actively lifting weights. And when I say lifting weights, that could be, like I have behind me something called a TRX. Right? So you can be, if you've ever seen a TRX, you can be, just using those straps. You can be using bands. You can be using dumbbells. But see that cardio machine over there and that Pilates machine over there, they're not quite going to do the trick. You need to do some more resistance training to actually, things that are going to help make the muscle build. And what that's going to do is help offset sarcopenia. It's
Okay,
like,
I
what?
have to stop. I have to ask you really quick before you continue, because I
Yeah.
know I'm sitting here probably panicking, and some people are, some other women are listening to this going like, "Oh no, okay, well, I wasn't really always that active, and I'm not in my 30s anymore. And is it too late for me? Because I didn't. That's always the question: is it too late? Because I didn't do all this when I was in my 30s, and now I want to start. But is it? Am I still going to have the same benefit?
Yes, too late. Goodbye. No, it's never too late. There are these seminal studies. So I've been in this industry for over 30 years. And there was a seminal study that came out like back in the 80s. That was just like, wow, mind blowing to put it in all the textbooks because I'm a private trainer, a master fitness instructor, I'm a master health coach, a nutrition coach. I've been doing this for a really, really long time. And one of the studies that came out back in the 80s were they biopsied muscles of people who were doing think it was a 12-week strength training program. So I'm going to give you the good side, the good news and the bad news. So the good news is they biopsied like, old women on a strength training routine. They were like 80 years old. They're sticking the needle and biopsying the muscle, and then muscles were growing. So you can actually build muscle your entire life. Now, for those of you who are on HRT, even better, it's a little bit easier. Those of you who are now in menopause and are not on HRT, it's going to be a little harder. Is it impossible? No, but it's a little harder. I'm going to throw another science term at you. The fancy word is anabolic resistance, which is just fancy speak for harder to make muscle, is anabolic resistance. So sarcopenia is age-related muscle loss. Anabolic resistance is as we get older, it's a little harder. He's going to have to work a little harder. But you know what? If you're somebody like us, like I'm 57 as of yesterday, I like working hard. So I'm like, all right, here it is. I'm in sarcopenia. I'm not, I'm taking HRT, but it's not to the physiological levels that I had at 30 or 40. So I'm like, I just got to put in a little more time. So, if you have more time on your hands, spend a little more time lifting weights. Now, here's the bad news. Here's what people have to realize. Um, I used to say this all the time, so it's going to be funny for it to come out of hear it coming out of my mouth again. But um, as we get older, gaining muscle is hard. Gaining fat is easy. So and that's what. So we just have to realize that it's a little bit harder to lose fat, and it's a little bit easier. So it's a little bit easier to gain fat, a little bit harder to lose fat as we get older. And then muscle is the opposite. It's very easy to lose muscle, and I'll give you an example of that. Other than just doing nothing as you get older, you're just losing it as we get older, and it's a little bit harder. So you just have to, dig in, be like, all right, I'm going to give myself a year. Start now. I'm just going to give yourself a year. And here's what I recommend for everybody is get something called a DEXA, DEXA, DEXA scan.
Exo
Depending on
scans.
where you live, they'll be anywhere between $50 and $200. Um, it's going to be worth your while. And you lay on a bed and an x-ray machine goes over you. It takes 7 minutes. It looks like a Xerox machine. You're like lying on a Xerox machine. And it just goes over and back. And 7 minutes later, in 7 minutes, you have a report. And the report is going to tell you what percentage of your body is muscle, what percentage of your body is fat. Then it's going to break it down and tell you exactly how many pounds of muscle and lean tissue you have and how many pounds of fat that you have. So you can look at it as percentages or you can look at it as actual pounds. Then it's going to tell you in your right arm, you have this many pounds of muscle and this many pounds of fat, left arm, right leg, left leg. And then the most important part is your visceral belly fat, what's around the belly. Because as we get older, the reason why our risk of heart disease increases is because we start to gain fat in our midsection, which is one of the things we want to talk about today. We gain fat in our midsection, and that is the fat that is dangerous. All the fat in your butt, all the fat in your thighs, all the jiggles in your arms, that is not dangerous to your health. It doesn't look good naked, doesn't look good in a bathing suit, doesn't look good maybe in tight clothes, but it is not dangerous. What is actually dangerous to your health and why your risk of heart disease and cancers and all age-related metabolic diseases increase is because of this fat right here. It goes it's not just sitting jiggling under your belly and muffin topping over your pants, but it literally goes into your organs, seeps into your organs, and that is called visceral adipose tissue. You'll see on your DEXA scan, or just basically visceral belly fat. And it starts to, so toxins, when we all talk about, oh, I want to detox, that's a bunch of bullshit. But if you want to detox your body, lose fat because fat is stored in toxins are stored in your fat tissue. particularly this fat tissue. So when they say, I'm going on a detox, no, you're not.
No, you're
When you
not.
go on, yeah, you hear about all this marketing, oh, no, liver detox. No, you're not. The way to go on a detox is to do a little fast. You can do a 5-day fasting mimicking diet if you don't want to go without food. You can do a water fast here and there, a short one or 48 hours. But that detoxification and just sweating, getting in the sauna, doing sweaty workouts, doing sweaty cardio, anything that burns fat off of your body is what is going to detoxify you, because that's where your toxins are stored, in your fat primarily.
Okay. I have a question about that because I remember years ago when I did powerlifting and wanting to lose fat in certain areas. And I remember them saying, you can't spot reduce.
Yeah, primarily you can't spot reduce. There's a small body of growing research right now. There's a little bit that, so for example, why do runners, tend to not have a whole lot of fat on their legs, like people who run all the time? And that has to do with the thermodynamic, or thermogenesis, I would imagine, because those muscles in the thighs are heating up. It is going to burn off a little bit of fat, but you can't really spot reduce. So in other words, doing 500 sit-ups a day is not going to burn visible fat off of your belly. Now, if you're a runner because you run every day, or you're a cyclist because you cycle every day, that heat in the muscle is going to burn a little bit of the fat off that's right above it. But primarily what happens is genetics. Your body decides, all right, I got to tap into some fat stores to burn for energy. Your body can only use two things for energy. It can use carbohydrates, which is known as glycogen in the muscle and in the blood and in your fat. It turns when your body converts energy. I shouldn't have said fat because it burns fat and carbohydrates. So when your body is looking for fuel sources to perform exercise, it will say, all right, first I want to get glycogen that's fast. It's sitting right here in my bloodstream, or there's some right in the muscle that I'm using, and it's just going to burn that off. Now it's like, all right, I'm starting to run out of glycogen. Where am I going to get energy from next? Now it starts to look at fat cells, and it starts to combust the fat cell, and it will use that fat cell for energy. And that takes a longer amount of time. They're bigger molecules. They take longer to break down. Your body's going to use what's easy and fast, which is your glucose, your glycogen, your carbohydrates, whatever's stored in the body. We're going to use that. If you happen to be drinking something that has carbohydrates in it, or you just ate a bar, it's going to use that bar for energy. Whatever it can access fast, whatever you just ate.
So it's the lowest hanging fruit, so to speak.
Lowest hanging fruit.
It's going for the easiest way.
Correct. And the fat takes longer. They're bigger molecules. First, it's got to get pushed out of a fat cell. It's got to get into the bloodstream. It's got to go into something called the Krebs cycle. And now it turns into an energy molecule. So it's a whole big to-do to burn a fat cell. But where is that fat cell going to come from? You have no choice. It's going to come from your ass. It's going to come from your bicep and tricep. It's going to come from your face. It's going to come off a boob. This is going to come from wherever your body decides. It's like, all right, that one. You don't really have any say in the matter.
But you know what occurs to me with that real quick, Jill, is that when I've gained weight, like say I just, was on a vacation and I gained I'm very short. I'm 5'2" and I weigh like 105 pounds. But when I gain weight and if I gain a pound, you see it. And so I've gained like 4 pounds the past few weeks, and I was on a trip or whatever, it goes somewhere. Like usually it could be the back, or it could be the stomach, or wherever, depending on what the food I'm eating. If it's not carbs, it's usually somewhere else. That's usually the first place. I'm curious what you think about this. Is the first place that it will go is the first place where I just gained it, not the place that.
Yeah, this is not well studied, but anecdotally, and I can tell you from 30 years of working with bodies, that the last place you gain it is the first place you lose it. So if you tend to gain weight in your butt first, you're going to lose it in your butt last.
Okay. So
think of a woman who's pear shaped. She's going to gain weight. First place she gains weight in is her butt. Then she has a small waist, and the last place she gains weight is going to be in her belly. When she loses weight, the first place she's going to lose it. That's why we have trouble spots. Those trouble zones that we called them in the 80s. Oh, hi. The trouble spots that we called in the 80s basically are the spots where we lose fat from less.
Okay.
That's all. And it's genetic.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. However, we all, men and women, do start to gain more weight in the midsection after about 50, when those hormones start to drop off. one thing that they found is that we just start to pack on more pounds around the midsection when the hormones, testosterone and estrogen start to drop off. Then everyone says, oh, cortisol, I'm all stressed out. Cortisol is making me gain weight around the midsection. Maybe you'd actually have to test that. So you'd have to take some cortisol tests, maybe. But the fat storing hormone that everybody forgets to talk about is insulin. It's your diet. When you're eating a high carb diet, um, you have your glucose levels will go up. When your glucose levels go up, more insulin has to come into your body to take that out. Now, if you have a combination of stress or a drop in those hormones, the hormone insulin, which is your fat storing hormone, is going to take that glucose out of your bloodstream because blood sugar is toxic. Can't have sugar in your blood. That's why diabetics die of diabetes, because there's sugar in the blood. So insulin comes in to take sugar out of the blood. And if you're under a high stress situation, it will put it in the belly. But guess what? If you're over 50, it's also going to put it in the belly. So is it happening from cortisol, or is it happening from estrogen drops and testosterone drops? Who knows? The only way to know is to just keep going to the doctor, keep getting tests. You'll keep spitting into a tube, keep taking the cortisol test. We won't really know. However, if you start doing a lot of meditation and relaxation and you notice your belly getting smaller, then you're like, oh, maybe it was cortisol. So you can just do a self-test, be like, all right, I'm gaining weight around the belly. Let me do my 20-minute meditation every morning. I like doing Tara Brach, do your whatever your meditation of choice is. Do that every day. And if you're noticing less belly fat, chances are you've had high cortisol.
High cortisol and then insulin because of that. Yeah. So
Well,
fascinating.
insulin is going to takes sugar out of the blood, and then it's going to put it somewhere. It's got to put it into fat cells. However, this can only happen, Jill, in an excess of calories. This can only happen if there's extra calories.
Oh,
Because if you are in what's called energy balance, that means, let's say you're eating 2,000 calories a day, but your body's burning 2,000 calories a day. If you're eating 2,000 calories a day and you're burning 2,000 calories a day, doesn't matter. There's no extra calories. So what's the insulin going to do? Nothing. There's no extra calories for it to store. It's a storage hormone. We only store things when we have excess. So if you are not eating excess calories, it's not going to happen.
mm, fascinating. That's fascinating. And it's like, because I'm thinking of what women would be saying right now is, okay, this all sounds really like a lot. Like, okay, I'm on hormone replacement therapy, HRTs. I get tested, you know, like I don't know where to start. And you said a lot of things here, which is great. But like, let's talk about real quick, because you talk about HRTs, and it's something I think we overlook, especially with women, and a lot of doctors are sort of like leery about it, is we always know what estrogen and progesterone as a companion. When you take estrogen, you take progesterone.
If you have a uterus, only if you have a uterus.
Okay, if you have a uterus, is testosterone for women.
Mhm.
What do you,
I love it. I mean, I like lifting weights. So I told my doctor, I'm like, okay, menopause hit. Get on that testosterone.
yeah, me too. Me too. So it's important, isn't it? It's important to have it checked and to see where we are, because we all lose testosterone as we age. And
Yeah.
it's not just for energy and for muscle building. And, a lot of
Yes, it
people,
is.
yeah, it's more than that.
Yes, it is. And it's for your sex drive. It's for, if you don't have testosterone, you're going to have low sex drive. If you don't have enough testosterone, it's going to be, you'll be lifting weights, which is great for burning calories and et cetera. But, if you want to actually put on muscle size, it is helpful to take testosterone. And if you're not taking testosterone because you don't want to, that's fine too. It's just going to be hard to build muscle. Why do we want muscle? Because what I just talked about was energy balance. So what you're going to find on that DEXA scan, I highly recommend getting a DEXA scan. You can book a consultation with me. We'll go through everything that you need to do to increase your muscle mass and to increase your metabolism. But when you have more muscle mass, you'll have a slightly higher metabolism. And what energy balance is how many calories your body burns a day. And that includes all calories that you burn, which could be from just walking your dogs. Your body's burning calories all day long. You're burning calories while you sleep. You're burning calories while you eat. You're always burning calories. The question is, how many calories does your body burn a day? And that's called your basal metabolic rate. So if you were laying in bed all day doing nothing, let's say you're sick in bed with the flu, You can't do anything. All you can do is use your finger to turn on Netflix and turn off Netflix. That is it. All the calories I'm burning today comes from this, tapping my thumb on the screen. That's called your basal metabolic rate. You need to know what your basal metabolic rate is if you're going to know how many calories to eat a day. Other than that, it's just guesswork. You're just stabbing in the dark. And that's fine. You can stab in the dark. We can just self-test. Like, all right, I'm eating 1,600 calories a day and I'm not losing any weight. I'm still gaining weight. Okay, let's try 1,500 calories a day. All right, do 1,500 calories. Oh, now the scale is starting to move. So that probably means your basal metabolic rate is about 1,200, which is common. And now you do about 300 calories of activity during the day. And so on top of that, maybe you do a workout. So when people say I burn 300 calories in a workout, that's 300 calories on top of your basal metabolic rate.
Okay.
So if your basal metabolic rate is 1,200, you do a 300 calorie workout that day, you kick an ass, do a hard 300 calorie workout. And then you have something called digestion. Digestion also accounts for about 10% of the calories you burn. So let's call that another 100. So now our energy balance is going to be about 1,600 calories. You eat 1,600 calories, you don't gain weight, you don't lose weight. So it doesn't matter where your insulin is. I mean, it does matter where your insulin is because that's important for your health. If your insulin's too high, you have something called insulin resistance. So we don't want that. And then people with insulin resistance tend to keep putting on weight because they're not in the calorie deficit. They're eating too many carbs. They're eating too many calories and too many carbs. Carbs are not the danger. Carbs are only the danger when they're in excess calories. Same thing with fat. If you eat too much fat, we're going to talk about the keto diet for a second. People always say, should I use the keto diet to lose weight? Yeah, that's water weight. You lose water weight because the keto diet flushes a lot of water out of your body because you're not eating carbs. When you're not eating carbs, you're losing water. Let's get into just a quick tidbit of science. The reason why low carb diets make you look like you're losing weight, you're losing water weight, not so much fat weight, is because every pound of carbohydrates holds 3 pounds of water.
Really?
Every gram of carbohydrate holds 3 grams of water. Every molecule of carbohydrate holds 3 molecules of water. So when you don't eat carbs, you lose weight. But who cares about water weight? That's not fat weight. That's why when you do a keto diet, you're like, oh my God, I lost 9 pounds so fast. Yeah, most of that was water.
Okay.
And then you're like, oh shit, this diet doesn't work anymore. I lost 10 pounds and now it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. I've stalled out. I can't do what's happening. What did I do wrong? Yeah.
Yeah. And then you go like, screw it. This diet sucks. You start eating carbohydrates again and now your weight goes right back up to where it was. So the keto diet is not the answer. It's just this, it's mostly water weight. It's cosmetic. And it could be dangerous because our cholesterol is going up with age and the keto diet will raise your cholesterol, your not good cholesterol.
Okay, that's interesting. Keto diet will raise your bad cholesterol, the
LDL, in your small particles, which are the dangerous ones. So the ApoB and the small particles within the cholesterol will go up for most people. Not everybody. There are outliers. There's people who are just genetically blessed, no matter what they do. Like there is a gene for people who's they just never have bad cholesterol.
Yeah, I'm one of those. I get like, if you look at the overall number, it's always high, but it's the LDL is like so high that they always say, oh, don't worry about it. You're fine.
Well, that's not necessarily true. So I would definitely test your ApoB. ApoB are the particles within LDL cholesterol that cause atherosclerosis.
Okay.
So everybody, I tell all my clients, test your ApoB. Don't just leave it at the LDL. If your LDL is slightly elevated, test your ApoB. And so what happens, here's what people don't know. And I don't know why your doctors don't tell you this. I mean, I'm lucky I come from a family of doctors and I'm obsessed with cholesterol and blood sugar because everyone in my family dies of diabetes or heart disease related to diabetes or atherosclerosis. So that's what takes out my family. So I'm obsessed with this. I don't know why doctors don't tell people this. You really need to be your own advocate. Tell your doctor to test your ApoB. Over the years, it's not like it's good for your cholesterol to be your LDL cholesterol to be a little bit high over years, because over years is how long it takes for plaque to build up. it builds up over years. And if
Mhm.
you've had high blood sugar, let's say you're predisposed to diabetes, like in my family, if your blood sugar is high, what does blood sugar do? I just said it's toxic to the body. It tears up the insides of your arterial lining. It shreds your blood vessels. This is how my mom died. She had high blood pressure and diabetes. So high blood pressure tears up the inside of your arteries. Diabetes tears up the inside of your arteries. Now, let's say you have a little bit of cholesterol. Now you've weakened the inside of your arterial lining, those particles of cholesterol, now they have a lot of, they're ping in here, they have plenty of places to get lodged into the blood vessels because the blood vessels are no longer smooth. They're kind of torn up. And now ping, 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 ping. And now you're building a plaque, building a plaque, building a plaque, building a plaque. A piece of plaque breaks off, heart attack.
Yeah, that's what happened to my late husband, exactly. Just didn't
Yeah. And
no
all
no
you
way
need
to
to
no.
do is just keep getting your blood test. If year after year your LDL is a little bit high and your ApoB is a little bit high, again, ApoB are the particles within the cholesterol that are the most atherosclerotic. It's not standard of care yet. This will be standard of care. It just takes, a long time for the AMA, American Medical Association, to make something standard of care. Just takes like 20 years. But hopefully in the next 5 years, if it's spend the 20 extra bucks to get that tested, 60 bucks if you test it separately. And if it's high year after year, get a calcium artery scan and then see if you have plaque. It'll tell you if you have plaque on your coronary arteries.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then if you want to go one farther, if you want to find out about your entire body, because you can have an event that starts in your leg and goes up
I
to your
see.
heart, right? Like it doesn't necessarily have to be one of these arteries. It can be an artery in your arm that has a blockage and it can go anywhere and cause a stroke. So then you would spend $1,000 and get something called a CT angiogram. And that'll
Is that what's
scan
known as the
yourself.
body scan? Is that known as, like, the body scan?
It's like that, but not the one that Kim Kardashian did.
Oh, okay. I had one done years ago where they just to scan for, like, heat hot spots,
Yeah,
you
so
know?
that's the CT angiogram. So anyway, that's not the $3,000 one. The CT angiogram is a $1,000 one. And now just check for anything that's going on inside your arteries. So, talk to your doctor about these things. But the problem is if your LDL is high repeatedly year after year, it's building up over time. And
Okay.
same thing with people who are like, oh, I have diabetes now. Well, you didn't get diabetes this year. That's been happening for years. You have had slightly high blood sugar for year over year over year. You don't wake up one day with diabetic. You don't wake up one day insulin resistant. It's just you didn't talk to your doctor enough or you didn't get enough blood tests. Your doctor is just like, they're busy. They only get time to see you for 15 minutes. And they're like, hopefully you're doing the lifestyle things. But these are things that we can do something about. You don't need to have high blood sugar. You can exercise. You know what the number one way to lower blood sugar is instantly? Exercise, move your muscles. Because your muscles just take blood sugar, no insulin needed. You don't need to get insulin and push it into only if you're sleeping or sitting or not doing anything. But while you're moving, while you're actually actively exercising, that could be walking, hiking, anything, more than just kind of taking your dog for a walk and picking up a poop. Anything above that feels like exercise, like you feel like things are moving, your muscles just suck the glucose, just suck the blood sugar. Glucose is blood sugar, glycogen is blood sugar, just sucks it right out of the bloodstream and puts it into the muscle to make that muscle move. Just sucks it right out. No insulin needed. And for people who have insulin resistance, those are people who don't exercise.
Okay, because that was my next question, and I know there are people out there saying, "Can I still lose weight if I don't exercise?" And I
Yes,
know you say it's not healthy. Mhm.
diet is the number one way to lose weight. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. So when we say lose weight, because we just talked about the keto diet, you can lose weight really fast if it's just water weight. Diet is the number one way to lose body fat.
Okay,
Diet
to
is,
lose body fat.
hmm but
Okay.
exercise is going to lower your blood sugar. Exercise makes everything in your body better. It lowers your risk for cancer. It reduces inflammation. But depending on how many calories you eat, if you eat 2,000 calories, and you exercise for 300 calories, and your basal metabolic rate is 1,200 calories, well, there's still 200 extra calories that are going to go into fat cells.
Okay. So is it cumulative day by day? So say I've got a 200 calorie a 200 calorie excess today, and then tomorrow I do
Burn
a
it
hundred.
off.
You see what I'm saying? Is like does it accumulate, or is it like you start over and you go, okay, well that was a bad day, and now I'm just going to get to like 2,000 or whatever the
Well, unless you
search.
wanna drive yourself completely batshit crazy, don't do that. Look at it over the course of a week. Be like, "All right, I wanna work out 4 times this week or 3 times this week. Great. I wanna do, like, a good sweaty 350, 400, 500 calorie workout, or, like, a good long workout, like a 2 or 3-hour hike or whatever." Just set your goal for the week, and the thing is, here's where we get into trouble, is that if you're not paying attention to what you eat, it's very easy to eat back the calories and more, because most people subconsciously, they lift weights and they're like, "Oh, I feel a little hungrier." You do a hard workout, "I feel a little hungrier." And
Mm-hmm.
so we tend to eat a little bit more. So it's a good idea to be mindful of your calories or actually log your calories. There's a good amount of research to show that if you use an app like MyFitnessPal, or you just write down what you eat, pay attention to it. Like when I work with my clients, I give them like, little sheets, like here's a little diary for you to fill out your diary. How did this meal feel? How did that meal feel? Pay attention to what you're eating. Um, and then if you don't have leptin resistance, it's another type of that means your body's not getting the cues that you're full. If you have leptin resistance, meaning your brain's not getting the message like, "Oh, I've eaten enough," which does happen with obesity. Obese people do have leptin resistance. But if you start paying attention, people do 30% better with their diets. They have 30% more success rate in weight loss, fat loss. We don't care about weight because weight could be water, fat loss, by keeping a diary. So if you like, playing with apps, use an app. If you don't like using apps and you're like more of a diary, a journal person, keep a
Yeah.
food journal, work with a nutrition coach like me. We send you different forms to fill out and you can answer these questions. Oh, this felt good. I ate this. Oh, it felt delicious eating those chia seed pudding. That felt good. Oh, I ate McDonald's for lunch. That felt crap.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, MyFitnessPal is really awesome. I love that app. I've used it and it's really
Yeah.
good.
There's all
And,
kinds
you
of
know,
ways to do
a
it.
and then but, like, even and we're gonna definitely put everything in the show notes. Everyone, when you're watching here, don't worry. Take notes for sure. Go back and watch some things and make sure you got all these great notes. But Jill has an incredible program coming up starting April 8th,
Yeah.
to the 2024 if you're watching, and I'm sure you have other things that'll be coming on, so this will be evergreen, and they can find you. I'll have social media clips for
Yes.
you and ways for them to reach you.
If it's
But
not the
please tell
April
us
8th
about that.
one,
Mhm.
yeah. If it's not the April 8th one, then you can do a next. So I have good programs and I have individual programs. I do nutrition coaching only, fitness coaching only, or a combination of both. And I have 1,200 workouts in my workout library. If you want to see what workouts does Jill do, Jill's at 57. I started building the library at 52 or 53. So there's like 4 years worth of workouts. Let's do Jill's 53-year-old workout. Go back 4 years. Do my 55-year-old workout.
Right.
Go back 2 years. But they're all in this giant library that you can access, and you can try them free for 2 weeks. If you wanna work with me, in the group program is less expensive, of course, than one-on-one, and, comes out to about $75 a week, and the program is called the 8-week Health Habit Mastery for Fitness and Fat Loss.
Cool.
And I'll give you the big secret. One of the big secrets that we work on is getting enough protein. If you're eating enough protein, you'll have a much easier time building muscle. If you don't eat enough protein and you're working out like crazy, that protein you won't be able to build muscle if you don't eat enough protein. So it's really important. I teach you how to figure out what your minimal protein needs are and your maximal protein. And we want to be somewhere in that window. If you don't eat enough protein, I can give you the math on it right now, but no one's probably taking notes. If you don't meet that minimum threshold, all the workouts in the world will do nothing. You won't build any muscle because you need to get enough protein into your body to start a process called muscle protein synthesis. If your body can't find enough protein for that, it will actually break down muscle instead of build muscle.
I heard the other day, I don't know if this was where I heard this, but that you need 1 gram of protein for every pound that you weigh?
You don't need that, but that's an easy math. So So for example, if you're 150 pounds, try to get 150 grams of protein. Good luck. Yeah, good luck. Yeah, good
I'm
luck.
like,
So it's that's just like, yeah, that's if you are actively building muscle, go there. If you weigh 125 pounds, not that big of a problem. I'm 115, I can eat 125 grams of protein, not a problem. Most people struggle to get that. So there is there's a more um, precise formula to just not lose muscle after 40. To just not lose muscle, you need 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. To start adding muscle, 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight. And if you're like really going after it, then 1.8 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, I'm talking fast, is 1 pound per gram. Sorry, 1
right,
gram.
2.2. Yeah, yeah, it's 2.2 is equals, yeah.
So that's the height. Yeah, 2.2 kilograms. Sorry, 2.2 grams. 2.2 kilograms per pound of body weight equals
Yeah,
1 pound.
1 pound. It's
Yeah,
2.2 is
1 gram per
1 pound.
pound. I'm sorry. I didn't have enough food today.
Oh my
So
gosh.
sorry, 2.2 kilograms of
No,
body. Oh God,
it's the other way around. It's 2.2 pounds equals a kilo.
no, 2.2 kilograms. 2.2 kilograms is 1 pound.
Right,
Yeah.
because I know when
Yeah.
I weigh here in Argentina, the scale is always
Yeah.
like,
So I do this. So I'm sorry. I do this all the time. And I know
yeah,
I'm
it's
sounding all confused, but that is because
oh, no, it's great. It's
I
great.
haven't eaten yet today.
Uh,
And which
no,
brings us to intermittent fasting. So
um,
I didn't need any protein or carbs yet today. But yeah. So if you eat
I
1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, that is the same as eating 2 kilograms of protein per pound of body weight, per
okay.
kilogram of body weight.
Okay, before we go into intermittent fasting, because I'm always thinking of like what people are thinking, and I've been getting hearing a lot of women saying, I've had friends ask me, "Can you get me these?" There's a, and I wish I wrote the name of it down, wrote it down, but these drugs that are now helping with fat loss. There's one that starts with an O, and there's another one that the insurance companies. I read an article yesterday that they're approving it for insurance to pay for it if you have heart disease.
Yeah.
That they're gonna
That's
consider, you know what I'm
Ozempic.
talking.
Yeah, Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro. There's a new one called Zepbound. These are called GLP 1 RAs or GLP-1 agonists. GLP-1 is glucagon-like peptide 1, and it's secreted by the stomach when you eat particularly high protein and high fiber foods. So if you want to do it naturally, that's what we were just talking about protein. When you eat a high protein meal, especially like a paleo diet, you eat a high protein meal with fiber, that's going to release GLP-1 naturally. But people are spending $1,000 a month to actually inject it into their bodies. So it happens from eating high protein. So most of these people just were not on good diets, and that's how they became insulin resistant, and that's how they wind up getting diabetes. And so it's a diabetes drug and an obesity drug. They are the same. So Wegovy and Ozempic are the same drug. It's called semaglutide or semaglutide, depending on how you pronounce it. And that is one hormone, GLP-1, and you're injecting GLP-1. It's the same hormone that gets released when you eat high fiber and protein. So if you have a good diet, you won't need it. If you don't have a good diet, you may want to go on the drug. Now, what it also does, so now there's 2 other ones, Mounjaro, which is GLP-1 plus GIP. So it's 2 hormones. And then there's a new one called Zepbound, which is 3 hormones. So they get stronger and stronger, depending on which one. So Ozempic, Wegovy, same drug, semaglutide. Mounjaro is tirzepatide. And then there's a third one now called Zepbound. So again, it's 1 hormone or 2 hormones or 3 hormones. And you
Are
inject
these
them.
safe? I mean, I know that yeah, I remember back in the day when we were all taking, I can't remember what that was. There was that pill that when you ate too much fat, like you would like literally like excrete and
Shit it out. Yeah, you get the
you shit it out
runs.
and it'd be all oily and you'd like a ring around the toilet. Like, is
Yeah.
that, are
No.
these things? I mean, I know that sometimes there's like, you have to weigh risks versus benefits, but I think sometimes we get our hands on something that maybe we can modify with our diet, but we're just choosing not to. We're taking the easy route.
Yeah, forget about
I
those old
admit it.
drugs.
I've done those things before, so I'm not judging. There's no judgment, but it's just
Yeah,
how
no judgment.
how safe are they? If someone
Forget
says
about
it's a lot of stuff, I don't want to do all this. I'd just rather take a pill.
yeah, this is not pill, it's a shot. So
Oh, it's a
forget
shot.
about
Okay.
these are injections. Right now, they're working on an oral, but right now they're only injections. So the FDA is they're finishing up the final round of testing, or they might have already approved it. There's going to be a pill coming out, but forget about everything of the past. One of them was the one you're talking about blocked fat absorption, and then the one before that was fen-phen, which was amphetamine. It was a type of speed that speeds up your metabolism. What you're injecting right now with these is you're just injecting yourself with a hormone. So, I mean, if you inject yourself with insulin, you're injecting yourself with a hormone. If you're injecting yourself with testosterone, you're injecting yourself with a hormone. So overall, they're safe. But of course, all drugs come with risks. And the biggest risk is a doctor's not going to let you take it if you have had some sort of thyroid cancer or pancreatic cancer, because there was some studies in mice that showed an increase in thyroid cancer, a certain type. If you're afraid of needles, you're not going to want to take it. But then, because what it does is it injects you with this fullness hormone. It makes you not want to eat. So it slows down gastric emptying. So food stays in your stomach longer, so you're full longer. So all it does is it just makes you feel full because the food's not leaving your stomach. For some people, a small population, their actual digestive system gets paralyzed. It gets so slow that it stops. And so there are a few people with this very dangerous, this is the gastric paralysis or gastroparesis. Their intestines get paralyzed.
Permanently?
I don't know. They don't know.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
that's good
crazy, and
to
that is
know.
incredibly dangerous. And because your body's not processing food, the food just sits there and it doesn't move. So that's a problem. They have to go in there and they have to like plunge it out. It's a disaster. So there's that disaster. But other than that, because it makes you so full, and I have a couple of clients on it, if you're full and you're not paying attention to the protein that we were talking about, you'll be losing muscle. So people lose muscle to the tune of about 35% of the weight loss is muscle. So what happens, but that happens also on a low calorie diet. If you go on a crazy low calorie diet, let's say you go 1,200 calories like we used to do back in the 80s, you go on a 1,200 calorie diet for 4 months, the same thing happens. You're like, oh my God, I lost 30 pounds, 10 pounds more muscle. And then you're like, oh, now I go off that diet and you eat this is what happened to Oprah. So she goes on these crazy low calorie diets. So she's like, a third of that she doesn't realize is muscle because we're not getting DEXA scans that I told you to do. Get those DEXA scans. You can see if you're losing muscle. And now you go back, you're like, screw this diet. This sucks. I'd rather be dead. So you go back to your regular eating patterns. Now you have less muscle. So what does that mean? Now you have a slower metabolism. You go back to eating what you were eating before, you gain all that weight and more because your metabolism is slower. All I did was go back to eating what I was eating before. Now what you were eating before is putting you in an extra calorie surplus because you have less muscle. So you gain weight back faster and more. And that is the yo-yo dieting. Low calorie diet. I lose fat, great. I also lose muscle. Go back to eating the way I ate, and now I gain all that back weight plus more. Next diet, low calorie diet. Lose all that weight. A third of it was muscle, gain all of it back. And you can see you go down and then up more, down and then up more, down and then up more. And this is what the scale is doing throughout your life. And that is yo-yo dieting. And that's what happened to Oprah.
And then we compound that with midlife when we're going to lose weight or muscle mass anyway. And then we're just sitting around with flabby skin and we're going I don't weigh that much, but.
And this is what happened. Yeah.
And my clothes fit great, but I have no muscle.
So semaglutide or these weight loss drugs are going to do the same thing. You're going to lose that weight, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, but whatever. A third of that or more is going to be from muscle. Now you're going to have saggy skin, those Zempic face, they call it, because you lose, muscle in your face has muscles too. You lose muscle in your face, you lose muscle from all over. So you get saggy skin, hanging skin, but you're healthier now because you've lost a dangerous amount of weight. Right?
Okay, and that's when it's dangerous, not I'm going to lose like the last 20 pounds or something. I think there's a big thing there as well.
Well, it does have a cutoff. You're only
does it?
Oh, yeah. Because you can't keep taking hero doses of this stuff. they give you a little more, a little more, a little more, and then you're like, okay, that's it, or else your stomach will get paralyzed. Right? Like you can't keep going higher and higher and higher dose. There is a limit, and you are going to hit a plateau. No matter what you do, you're going to hit a plateau.
That is super important to know. I'm glad you mentioned that because
No
I think
matter what.
that's a lot of people either can get access to things or they just will continue to do it or find ways to do that. And the danger is huge. And then they wonder why they're not digesting, why food's not processing, and why they feel terrible. And wow.
So, but you will only hit a plateau. So why does Oprah look great? Because she's got trainers, she's got chefs giving her enough protein. Her chef is making her high protein meals. Her trainer is making her exercise. If you are on any of these weight loss drugs or any kind of weight loss diet, you need to be lifting weights to be putting muscle back on. That's the only way not to lose it. So you still need to make lifestyle changes. What people don't realize, and people, this is America. Well, just give me a pill, just give me a drug, and I want to lose the weight. But you're not making the lifestyle changes. And if you make the lifestyle changes, it's perfectly safe. Because if you ever decide to go off this drug, you now have the lifestyle behaviors. This is what I teach in my program. Healthy habits for fitness and fat loss. The behaviors that will last a lifetime. So to be in the habit of exercise, the habit of lifting enough weights, the habit of moving your body, the habits of eating high protein, the habits of eating high fiber. Now, if you decide that you're going to titrate off your weight loss drug, now you're in a good place. Because if not, you will have to take that drug for the rest of your life. Oprah already said, she's like, I'm going to have to take this drug the rest of my life.
Please share this with others because this is some good information. And there are women out there that really need to hear this in midlife. And I think it's really important. I'm starting a community soon as well. So stay tuned for that. And we'll be putting information in the show notes on all of the things we talked about today. So I want to thank Jill once again for being here. And I hope everyone just stays connected and live your best life. Take care.